Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for jumping on and sharing the next half an hour, 45 minutes or so with us as we look at the highly likely the largest cost base in your MSP services side of the business when it comes to anything recurring. Microsoft often accounts for between 60 and 80% of all the costs, not all of the margin, of course, but all of the cost that lives within the MSP. So we just want to share some of the lessons that we've learned over the last 6 years, some of the complexity, and just ideally some quick wins that you can potentially think about implementing into your own world. This will be getting recorded as well. I recognize there's a whole heap of other geographies that sort of time zones didn't align, but this will be recorded. We will share this with yourselves after the fact as well. So just in terms of the flow for today, or the agenda, just a very quick intro. Talk through the good, the bad, and the not so good when it comes to the layer of distributors that we've got in the market, and some of the gaps that actually occur with native PSA to distributor synchronizations and API links, and just things you want to be mindful of how that's actually disconnected from the invoices that they generate for you and give out and expect you to pay each month. A couple of real world examples, and then we'll go through a demonstration. In this case, we do have Pax8, but we can talk to, and more than happy to answer any questions if you've got anything specific when it comes to your own distributors as well, or any other vendors or questions that might arise. We will, I think, have a bit of time at the end of this for a Q&A, but do please pop in any questions that you've got. Either myself or the other Adam Squared today, will be able to answer the questions either at the end or as we go through it. So one of the things I wanted to note, Adam runs the go-to-market for us here out of Australia. He's based up in the Gold Coast. I'm sure there's a few people on this call that have had a few calls from Adam over the over the past couple of months or years. One of the things that we just wanted to note real quick is we've got a couple of dinners and lunches that we've got next week in Australia. So Wednesday in Brisbane, Thursday next week in Sydney. A lunch and a dinner, just to give some options. If you're interested in that at all, or anyone who's watching this later on and who's based in Denver, then just either email adam@cloudolive.com or ameadows@cloudolive.com. Would be great to see you. The whole thing behind this is a couple of hours, a nicer restaurant, if you will, maybe 10 to 12 people. We will be discussing some of the trends we're seeing, and also the roadmap, as well as having a client of ours actually discuss how they've been leveraging the tools and go from where they were to where they are today. Okay, we ran them in the UK last year. They were really well received. Would be great to see if you obviously have time and are in that location. So in terms of a quick intro, I noticed that majority of the people here we do work with, but just very high level. Cloud Olive looks to give a level of control and visibility across your entire month-end billing process when it comes to recurring services. So we sit above the PSA, and we're reading all of the various invoices and data sets and vendors, et cetera, and telling you where you're misbilling. Rather than go into too much more detail, there's a QR code for CloudPoint, a European MSP we've been working with for some time. They've got 20 plus vendors, loads of nuance, user-based billing, tons of different things that they've got going on, challenges they had. And it just talks to the control that we were able to help them gain over the first couple of months of them working with us. So with that behind us, let's talk about what the disties do really well. Last count, it's probably less than this now, but there was around about a dozen just in Australia that were tier one with Microsoft. So pretty fragmented market at that level. But they do play a really key role, right? They help consolidate, broadly speaking, a whole heap of products, and you can buy them through one lens, simplifying the purchasing. Majority of disties actually don't do this. Majority still bill you individual invoices so they consolidate to a view, but their billing is completely fragmented still. What it's also meant to do is easier provisioning, give you a hell of a lot of support. Ideally, would be meant to be a good selling point, and then any integrations that come off of it. Now, we almost see the fallout of any integration that comes into any of the PSAs, and can speak very, very closely to almost the thinking that went on behind in those distributors in terms of why they built it that way, because we see the disconnect to their invoice when our MSP partners are trying to make sure they're not misbilling, right? We've got a really, really, really deep understanding of this specific problem area. And it astounds me how every distributor has thought about this problem in their own way. And in doing so, the thing that not just to distributors, but I think APIs in general, APIs do not equal the invoice that you're going to get sent by that vendor or distributor in this instance. It's just not. So the timing of when a vendor or distributor runs their reports to invoice you may be completely different to when you've actually chosen to invoice out. The second those things are misaligned, it means that it largely becomes impossible to marry up those two things and have 100% confidence within that. Okay. I'll talk to a couple of very, very, very specific examples here in a sec, but here are some of the risks. We're gonna talk through, again, Pax8, who do a really good job in consolidating down many products onto one invoice if you're buying multiple things from them. One of the challenges that actually brings is you've got lots and lots and lots of lines on one page that you need to then make sense of. Some arrears billing, some are in advance, some current month, some prorates, some's one time, and each month you need to make sure that everything at least has a home and you're making money on it. The vendors have their own billing models, especially when it comes to things like backup. And I'm thinking specifically around things like Blackpoint or Wasabi. Those types of products are completely different billing models to many other things that you may be purchasing through them. And all this is just saying is just adding additional complications to the distributor, who then has to figure out how to make it all align to an invoice and also into the PSAs, should they all have integrations. Some integrations have completely different user workflows as well. So Microsoft could well be really hands-off, really mature. You have a really good time with that. You trust it. Whereas others, you are forced to go into the relevant platforms and action them every single time. So if someone forgets to do it, and it's oftentimes when it's arrears-based billing, which is what will determine whether it's just going to be hands-off, because it's very simple for distributors to just manage it. Yep, it's in real time. We expect to get billed for this. When it's arrears-based, they're actually waiting for the bill from their suppliers from one tier up. Then only at that point can they have confidence that they're going to be able to reconcile their own bills, which puts you guys in a trickier spot. The no visibility into actual usage or assignment. This is a big one. Like, we've seen many MSPs move towards, say, a managed user bundle, as an example. You can't really get that information from your distributor easily. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why you want to be mindful of this, is if you've bought, or the end clients bought 20 users for a year, but that was in January, but in March, they've only got 18 active assigned users. You've just got a decision to make. Do you bill for 20 regardless? And there's plenty of MSPs that do that. And I'm referring to user-based bundles here versus just the Microsoft license. Yes, you would bill that for the whole year as 20, but for like the end client would generally know that 2 people left in March. So it's like, well, why are you billing me for 20 of all these other peripheral services as well, or all these bundles? Or there is no awareness or flexibility when it comes to bundles, when it comes to either AutoTask or ConnectWise, which are the two that we're very familiar with. So I'll fire through these because I actually want to show you in a demonstration in a sec what you can do about these, though. So when we say fragile, I'd say that they're fairly robust until anything unique needs to come into the equation. So one of the one of the complexities that we've learned, and it kind of makes sense as well, is we'll pick on, say, a business premium SKU. Okay, that SKU number is 123. We'll just keep it simple. But there's three different billing commits and billing frequencies that you can have in that combination: annual, monthly, or monthly annual. The problem is the code of 123 is uniform across all three of those services. So one of the things that in new partners that come on, depending on the distributor you're buying from, we try to understand really quickly around, hey, do certain customers of yours have both, say, annual, and monthly annual, or two variations, be that? We've seen so many different times where integrations get a little bit confused and begin overriding things where you really don't want them to. We'll share some actual numbers of an MSP that we worked with out of the States in a second. Handling prorates or contract changes, again, can be really solid, except for when you begin doing other things. Like we were speaking with a client last night who wasn't aware that for prorates to actually action the way they were expecting them to, that they needed to have certain tick boxes on within their PSA. So for months and months and months, they actually weren't billing any of the uplift that their customers were having when it came to any of their services. Really hard to find things like that you're not going to know. There's no alerts that are getting thrown out at you. The other thing with the validation layer is, once you link a service to a service from any of these integrations, that's its home. Like, first and foremost, it needs to be a one-to-one 99.9% of the time. If a human's come in and linked it to the wrong thing for whatever reason, or the system's hiccuped for whatever reason, or you're changing services and it's grabbed the wrong one at some point in time, it's just a really, really hard thing to see. And that can live on for years in theory and not get caught. And you can be sort of feeling the brunt of missed revenue here. One of the scary things, not scary, but I shouldn't say that, but one of the realities of, if you're making about 16% margin in Microsoft per month, which isn't a huge amount compared to some of the other vendors, if you miss 1 month of billing for that line item, it means that 6 months of your margin's been evaporated. So if you miss 2 months, that's a year. So just to give you an idea of how important it is just to every single month keep on top of this, because if you get it wrong once for one client, it could mean that you're not making any money for 6 to 12 months. And every vendor, I'm sure people would nod along around here just saying that, have you ever had a distributor of yours invoice you incorrectly in the past couple of months, right? It happens on a regular basis. Again, just tricky to see, tricky to find. Because we see it across hundreds of MSPs every single month, we're pretty hot to being able to see weird things and then disseminate that information to our partners across the board. So this specific example, and again, if you buy and sell to one client the same service just across different commits and frequencies, be really, really, really careful. And after this, go and check to make sure that something hasn't hiccuped, especially if you have any form of integration, updating those things. So this was a real world client in the US who, when they came on, they didn't have a huge number of clients, but they had some very, 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 very large clients. Okay. So in one of those customers they had, in Jan, they had bought 50 annual licenses. So bought them, paid for them up front, all good. They ran Autotask as a PSA, this MSP. Come March time, another service, just monthly annual, it just went from 10 to 11. So you would expect nothing to change with the 50, of course. And then from the 10 to 11 would just go exactly that, and you bill on, happy days, no problem. What actually happened, the integration got the distributor itself, because the codes were identical between the two, was like, oh, we've got a change here for this, call it a business premium. I know where this is. It's this 50 number. Oh, they've got 11 now. I'm actually going to reduce that 50 down to 11. So they refunded 9 months of 39 licenses. And the actual impact of that was close to $15,000. It wasn't per month, but it was $15,000 that they eventually caught. But you can imagine going back to the customer then at that point going, whoops, like you actually owe us for this, our bad. So this is one of the subtleties. Be hot on if you are choosing to do, and there's real benefit as well to doing multiple billing frequencies, especially if you've got annuals and you want to do an 80-20 split. There's some real merit in doing that. You just want to make sure that you've got the right systems and processes set up to capture the oddities that may creep in that you may not be it might not be that easy to find. Okay. So we're in the next slide, we're going to jump into Cloudolive for a second. If you buy from Pax8, right, it could be any distributor though, especially if they do consolidate them down onto one bit of paper. If you're buying multiple vendors from a single place, our recommendation is that you get greater granularity, greater clarity by actually breaking those things apart. So when we were looking at we got 3 different vendors, Microsoft, WebRoot, and Exclaimer. We've just told Cloudolive to grab just those specific. Same data set gets dropped in 3 times, but it just organizes itself to into those 3 vendors. Even if you have syncs on, 2 things. If you're any of your Microsoft-led integrations coming from a third-party system that's doing it directly in the partner center, it means that and you buy from a distributor, it means they do not see anything to do with costs. So they're purely relying on your original catalog inside of your PSA. And the reality of that is unit cost in particular in those PSAs at any scale rarely can be trusted. You want to be really, really just super mindful, especially if it's coming from an integration with no view into your cost, even if it is coming directly from the distributor itself, who obviously will see cost. You want to make sure that the margin that you are achieving per line is actually aligning. We've seen a number of times where the unit cost, because it's getting up almost increased, right, every 9 or 12 months or whatever it is these days with Microsoft, and different commits have different amounts and all the rest of it. It's unlikely that all clients will be uniform across every single SKU. So it needs to come from the invoice. It needs to be lined up, and you want to be confident every month that the margin you're anticipating making is in alignment and not going back the wrong way. Reverse reconciliation. So step 3, just because what the integrations or distributors or MSPs in general are generally good at is when new things come on, they'll add it into a contract and bill it out. What's harder to do and certainly harder to see 6 months down the line is what are we billing our customers that actually is no longer on the vendor side? So almost doing the reverse of it. 4th is NCE. The number of our clients, unfortunately, that we see that have, like in our system, we will flag a big underbilling. Hey, you're buying 20 and you're selling 10, and they go, yeah, I know. We actually, that thing renewed. It was our bad. We have to wear it for another 9 months. Like it happens. Like we see it, we track it with notes, and it's just not it just sucks, right? Talking about like there's half of those licenses now that they're just not making any money on. So managing that NCE lifecycle, especially if you've got annual commits, especially if you've got annual commits more so than anything, you still only have that 7-day window with Microsoft to make an adjustment when that renewal actually comes around. One of the things distributors don't give you that greater insight of is the license assignment versus what's actually billing, because they will just bill you for whatever your maximum commit is, which is fine, which makes sense from their side. We'll provide a way that you can just get a bit of a better lens on who's assigned to what and who's got renewal. So 4 and 5 somewhat blended together there in terms of what is upcoming. How can I see my annual commits? And hey, is there anything that I need to be aware of that's like has an unassigned license that the customer won't come and say, well, why didn't you let me know a week, 2 weeks before, or 6 weeks before? And depending on your size, my view on this is once you get above, say, $25,000 a month $30,000 a month in cost when it comes to suppliers, you need to be validating your distributor every single month. Every single month, maybe a little bit below that. Depends if you got lots of small clients or you'll know how much they actually move. But the complexity seems to really kick in around that 30K mark in our experience. So let's actually jump in now and have a look at what we've built out from a Pax8 perspective. So we're looking at our April reconciliation here. As I mentioned, there is one invoice that comes from Pax8. This is just who we're going to go through today. It has Microsoft, Exclaimer, Sentinel, Webroot, it has everything on there. It's easier once you get to say 10 clients on a specific secondary service, Microsoft being the primary, your secondary services, like begin breaking them apart like this so you can see them in their own world. And one of the other key parts of that is if you have 500 lines and it's saying it's underbilling by $1,000, it could be that Webroot this month is having a hiccup and a specific problem. Okay. Whereas Microsoft's perfect. This just allows you then to go, oh yeah, here's the issue. Like it's something's happening here with Exclaimer. All the other ones are pretty solid this month. That's good. What we want to find. So I've left a couple of notes. Each distributor, based on the data that comes into Cloud Olive, we're able to do some different or build some specific logic around it. The vast majority of them we can see, like we can recognize what's a prorate, what's not. Even if it doesn't formally give us that, we can read it from the dates and infer what's what. There's quite a bit that we can do within Pax8. Okay, so one of the things we'll do here is go, just show me the things that actually, I want to see what's changed. What are my prorates for this month? And it will then leave you with the word prorate. It will go, hey, on the 27th of March, we increased by 4. We're in Autotask integration right now, right? So one of the cool things about that is if you're running Autotask, we can then in one view go, here's the vendor side, boom, here's the Autotask side. Those things should be in lockstep. If the invoice and their integration or your process or your work with Cloud Olive was in lockstep, those things should be good to go. If they're not, you can then work out what actually fell apart on the way through it. So I can do a search for the word cancel. So again, here we've got canceled. This here, rather than is reading the start date, you can imagine the invoice that you're probably familiar with. Like Cloud Olive based on logic is going, well, if it's cancelled, we need the end date, not the start date. Like it's organizing this information as you would likely do it if you were to review this and come to terms with what actions you need to take. So if this cancelled on the 28th of March, it's all good. We can see that there was an active service in the PSA. It's now at 0. That's fine. That makes sense. But what it also might tell us here is actually we stopped this contract way back at the 1st of March, whereas we've been billed up until the 28th of March. You can deal with that however you see fit, right? You can go back into the contract, extend it out, bill it. Naturally, if you did that, our system would go back to green. It wouldn't be an issue. But this is a super important one. If a customer's calling you and you set the expiration date in the contract at a specific time, the integrations you may have on and or the invoice may come after the fact of the customer's actually walked now or has moved on to a different service. The blend of these two bits of information is really important. This here just hopefully identifies, hey, out of everything with our 53 lines, there are currently 3 things that Cloud Olive isn't happy about. Okay, could be unlinked lines. We got this thing here, go to Pro, what's this? Home to Pro, upgrade. We've left a note, this was billed out separately. We might hide that so we don't see it every single month. Okay. One of the other pieces within Pax8 in particular, right? And this actually happened with Ingram initially with us, I should say, is if I search for the word summed, I don't know why this happens, but it happens on a regular enough basis that we've got automated logic that goes to find these specific scenarios. What's happened here is a technician within Distributor Portal A, pick who it is, right? This is specifically the Pax8 data, but you can very easily start a new subscription, in this case for Business Basic, when we already have a Business Basic subscription active. Really, really easy to do. I don't know exactly why it is, especially if you've got lots of lines. Might be a little bit hard to see someone new to that interface and that portal potentially, but we see it enough that if the start and the end date on the service is a full month, so I've just highlighted a couple of key points here. So again, just reading the data and the system's going, hang on a second, are you telling me that this specific customer has a Business Basic that's monthly, so it's identical? There's two subscriptions living. None of them have cancelled. None of them have just started. None of them are prorated. Each of them happen to have a unit count of 5. There's no way to differentiate between the two of these things. All that we know is you've got at least 2 subscriptions to match that. Okay, so we just learn over time, we need to flag this because you are getting billed for 10. And too many times there was just a 5 count on the PSA, which is what it is looking like here, right? So either if it's monthly, the recommendation is go back into Pax8, lower down one, increase the other, fix the problem next month. So just being able to simply use like search for the word summed will leave you with those, hopefully none, but it could be 2 or 3 or 10 different services. And then just embed the almost like an improved process back into the team to follow. The Microsoft lens, okay, and we'll go into the user-based billing piece in a sec, but if I look at the exclaimer side, same deal, right? We've got 10 lines. Here are my problem areas that I need to look at. Simple as that. Everything else seems to be pretty spot on. We're buying stuff that's on an expired contract, not good. We're losing money. And or down here even, it looks like we are billing a line, but we're making no money on it. There's a chance that our buy or our sell price at the moment is actually set to 0. Okay, so from here, we can push all of this back into the PSA and fix all that. Unit cost management, regardless of the distributor, looking and reviewing it against the invoice, strongly recommended. Naturally, we make it very, very easy to see where there's a difference between the buy price and your buy price listed in the PSA. The increases that are coming like periodically now, it's just super important. As I said in the earlier slides, there's no uniformity to this these days. So this is just one way that if you see it increase from the prior month and you weren't expecting it, good chance to speak to the distributor. Or if you're expecting it, now you can at least go through and push and fix these things. For those who work with Cloud Olive, in the next couple of weeks, we will be moving more towards a bulk update concept where a lot of these can be handled in the background, sort of 25 to 50 at a time, but we'll speed things up significantly. Okay, so let's look at one step here. What I want to check here is, now that we've worked through this vendor and we're happy with it, now we're going to just do a refresh on this and we're going to come back into our MRR insights. And what we're going to look at here is, if I do a search for Pax8 here, so if I just search for either Pax8 there, what we're doing here is this is pulling up every single service that has Pax8 associated with it in some capacity, okay? And what we care about is, when was it last actually reconciled? So you can see April, this is the file we looked at, April. You would expect, if we're going to be doing this every month, maybe something that's annual that started in June, we can forgive that. That's okay. Okay. But if there's monthly things and anything else, if we want to filter on what's never been reconciled, here are the 4 things to have a problem here that we need to address. Means one of 2 things. We're billing it and no longer buying it. Or we're billing it and actually we've never procured that service ever. Like for Microsoft, maybe a little bit less likely, but maybe not from a, you might have procured other things and you're supporting them, they're still using other Microsoft services, but certainly for security-based products, this is a really big one just to periodically, or if things move quite a lot every month, just come in here and have a look at what has not been looked at in the month of April. because we can just filter on all these things, never been reconciled, and then work through it. Okay. Last but not least, on the assigned and unassigned numbers. So here we have our NCE integration, whereby we've got a view of all of the tenancies, all of these services and subscriptions across the board. And here we then see unassigned users, which is a good one. So here we can see here are the services that have unassigned licenses. And really importantly, what's actually coming up for renewal. So this is a different lens. This data set here is what is not available from distributors. Okay. And the fact that there's 12 commit, this would match your invoice, but there's only 11 actually assigned. So that's the key, like the assigned user. So if you ever want to move towards a user-based billing concept, just know that if you use the invoice from a supplier, which is a strategy, which is cool, that's fine. If the clients reduce down counts, just know that there might be some friction in the way that you're looking to bill, which if you don't have that easy access to that data, this is just a really simple option to give you that, plus who's actually assigned to it. We added in filters here to go, I really care about, like if there's loads of monthlies, I just want to see my monthly, annual, anything that's annually commit, and being able to sort really, really quickly on what's actually on the horizon, and then work through, okay, where are my unassigned things that I need to think about, if at all. Okay, so we're pretty good here until late September, October at this stage, but maybe once a month you come in here and just scan and see what's on the horizon. What sort of time frame do we want to give our clients to be able to go, hey, we know that you've got these people assigned to it. Do you want us to renew on these? However you're doing that today, again, just a single view brings everything into one place. I also set up, just to give you an idea on another path that many clients are now adopting for, is if we wanted to ever assign user names to an invoice that we can see here, it's just an option, right? We've got the data from NCE, that Microsoft integration that we're reading directly from the PSA, from Partner Center. If you wanted to push this information across into the invoice description, it's just an option that you can do for some customers or many customers. And that can live in conjunction with other integrations or processes or things that you got going on. If clients are asking for that, and you're like, how on earth are we going to do this? I think some distributors used to do this. And then when GDAP came along, the extra layer of security and segmentation from Microsoft, they were like, too hard, understandably too hard. So this can give you an option to move back towards that if you want to provide that visibility. So just see if there's any questions at all. None at this stage. Do feel free to pop them in if you do have any. And let's go back to this. So yeah, so the contract renewal with NCE, we built this. We sort of launched Cloud Olive as NCE was coming out, and we thought, oh, that is going to be such a headache for everyone. So we'll gradually build a way to actually consolidate and help in some capacity and manner. And where it ended up being is a much more granular approach to being able to provide user-based counts, like being able to, if you wanted to exclude something from here, so our count goes from 21 and you manually exclude a reception at or something at count, naturally we can then go, well, 21 minus 2 excluded equals 19. That becomes the count that you can bill and or verify against, or whatever you need to do with that information. And anything here, right? If you've got one of the other pieces, and I think why some of the distributors, Pax8 being one of them, that stopped the name integration was when GDAP rolled out, it became a lot more secure, but also complex when it came to integrating into these into partner centers. So if there's inconsistency with your Entra roles when it comes to GDAP setup, this thing would just flag it to you and will very quickly shine a light on, here's some inconsistencies, here's what you should probably consider thinking about to standardize across the board, making it easier for for yourselves in particular, right? And just being able to have consistent, secure access into your customer base. This just highlights either you don't have it or it's limited, and really you can't do as much as maybe what you would need to be able to do. So that's almost a Microsoft 360 when it comes to it. So there's lots of subtle nuance that we believe is pretty hard to see, find, and you largely trip over it. Would like to think that we've elevated all of those things into the open, primarily aimed to add search words around those specific areas. Like if you've got two subscriptions for the same thing, you can search for the word sum or prorates. You can see that they married up. Whether you bill high point, prorate, doesn't really matter. At least you can see and isolate those services down, and you then decide, is it reasonable to bill the high point if they added 10 licenses on the 31st of the month? It's up to you. We'll at least deliver that information. But the key of this is looking at it from both angles. The distributor bill will always act as the source of truth, even outside of any integration, due to the fact that that's the source of how much money will leave your bank. Let's make sure that that is all allocated accordingly. Ideally, including your own internal services to your own internal accounts as well. And then on that solves revenue leakage, looking at the invoice coming from the vendor side. What it doesn't solve is misbilling, like legacy things that are on the PSA that may be still billing out to the customer. The reverse lens of that comes back and there's nothing overlapping now. Everything is actually all in lockstep and you can have total confidence of it. We'll see if there's any questions. If not, we can give everyone back a few minutes of their time, which is good. Is there any other slides? That's coming up to it. So what I would say is if there's clients of ours that are on this or new MSPs that we're not currently working with, more than happy to run a like a Microsoft specific session in just confirming that those things all marry up, right? So you've got all lines A have a home, the counts are good, your unit costs are good, your margins are accurate. And also then do a quick reverse of that and go, here are the things that are not on the vendor invoice. Are we okay with that? Because they're annuals maybe, or some other reason that they're going to live on for a period of time. But that confidence, at least, especially those in I suppose the UK's new financial year, Australian financial year coming up in the next couple of months, just being confident that moving forward, you've got it on total lockdown, at least for this period of time. The other thing that I should have noted, which I did not, is you may have noticed the naming conventions that we had here. The naming conventions inside the PSA, like we've got, this to me is the single most important decision you can make in your PSA to ensure that as you grow with new vendors or remove vendors or anything like that, or have other complexities that come in, a uniform, intelligent, well thought out naming convention structure when it comes to, most importantly, the services, is the best decision I reckon you can possibly make. We'll maybe ask one of our team members just to pop in a blog that we've written some time ago, which still rings true. That if it's something that you're going to engineer or you're thinking, do you know what, it's inconsistent, we've got duplicates, there's legacy stuff in there, we've made acquisitions, it's a little bit messy. This can be a good a way that you can at least think about sort of not making the errors that many others have made.
Adam, a question has come through.
Yep.
We struggle with device-based billing. Can Cloud Olive help with that as well?
Device-based billing, yeah. So I guess different to probably wouldn't come from Pax, or a distributor, but yeah, totally. Like generally, device-based billing would come from an RMM, and then you would have some logic to go, hey, we include laptops and workstations and desktops, and Macs, we call them all this, a workstation maybe, and we ignore network devices or whatever you do. We have them all matched to be the same thing. So we've got an example here of Data RMM. Could be any of them. Could really be any of them. Very simply, we just sum it. Normally we get a really big report, right? Every agent has its own line item, and we just sum it at the customer level, or sum it at the customer and the device type level. Actually, it's cool that we've got this. One of the things that RMMs in particular are red hot on is billing, or like giving you a quarter end deal so you buy more than what you actually need. So what we obviously want to account for everything, right? So we've told Cloud Olive we've got a commit of X number, call it 500. I can't remember the exact number. For anything that's not assigned, there's 120 then left over. And you can see how we've just tied this back to our own MSP, so we can truly account for it's $2 worth of cost. For now, we would like to see this number decrease down over time, but for now, it's on the shelf for us. But yeah, very much so. And the other piece with device-based and or user-based is generally people are really good at onboarding, offboarding RMMs and Microsoft. So once you have those services being accurate inside of the PSA, one of the pieces of the puzzle that you can then do as a quality control, we trust our RMM. If a customer has 10 of that, I would like to know if this service on that account equates to 10 as well. Don't update it. Just flag it to me if there's drift at all. So primary service here, and then here are the secondaries. And from a user side, again, kind of goes against what I just said in terms of using a Microsoft specific one for doing it. But whatever you decide to be a service that you trust to be a count as a user count. So here we've got, if a client has standard E1 or E3, we account to them to be a human. Mark all three of them to be primary. So if they have 10 of that and 5 of that, now we go, okay, well, that's 15 in total. Does this meet 15? Does that match 15? Just tell me if they don't match. Okay, so the device and user base generally accounts for probably 80+% of all of the revenue and getting those numbers right. So here's just a couple of ways that you can have real confidence, I guess. And our focus now, we've got a Microsoft integration. We wanted to help with user base counts in the next couple of like later on this year. We're going to go really focused into the main RMM integrations on the market to specifically help with device-based billing, because it sort of those counts are so important to such a large percentage of revenue out there. So that's our upcoming focus. So yeah, the offer, I suppose, if you're interested, obviously if you're working with us already, we'll go through this in detail with you. But anybody else or clients we'll go back over it with you, just drilling into those 5 or 6 key areas within Microsoft and giving you real confidence that this month, this is the most confident you've ever been on that distributor or wherever you're buying it from.
Adam, just one more question has come through from Anne. What field do you use from the Pax8 invoice to reconcile Microsoft subscriptions? I have just noticed they use the same SKU for monthly, and annual commits. Yeah,
big time. We blend 3 different things together to create something that's unique, while referencing another. Actually, we blend 4 different properties together while looking at dates to choose things that we do or don't do with it. But you're right. That was one of the pieces. So again, if you're buying, that question's arisen because someone's buying 2 billing or commit frequencies on 1 SKU for 1 customer. That's where you really need to be careful that an integration won't override something big time. But we've solved that by merging multiple properties together to create something granular enough to be able to like determine what's what. Cool. All right, we're bang on the 45 minutes. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free to email me at adam@cloudolive.com or ameadows@cloudolive.com if you have any questions.